Everyone Games is uniting disabled gamers, celebrities, veterans, and anyone that wants to play for a 2-day livestream event of tabletop and video games to show that everyone games. The Knights of the Braille are joined by a community of volunteers to play alongside Jennifer Kretschmer, T1J, Radders, Blind Temple, Honey and Dice, EJ from Non-Compete, Drunken Bard, History Wizard, Vadim, Runaway Robot, and Luke Gygax, and many, many more celebrities. So you can donate now for your chance to win and play with one of these incredible celebrities and raise money for Everyone Can and StackUp.org, two incredible charities raising money for disabled kids and veteran gamers. Go to justgiving.com/everyone-games. That's justgiving.com/everyone-games. Join us on the 30th of September and the 1st of October to game after game of celebrity games.
Now recording.
The following podcast may have adult humor,
swear words,
innuendos of a adult nature.
making fun of me.
That's a given. Everybody looks forward to that. But just know that you have been warned. Hey everybody, this is Richard back again with I think we're gonna go with this standard issue or episode of The Blind Knights. I know everybody's cheering that Jesse's not in the podcast. At least I won't get interrupted by him today. I can't speak about my guests, But hey, if they do interrupt me, I'm at least used to it, right? But we have here with us a couple of characters, and they have their own podcast, which we're not going to plug because we want you to listen to us instead, But of course, we want you to go and listen to them. A couple of really good.
Richard, they should listen to both of our podcasts. I'm going to say it now.
There we go. We'll go with that, but of course, listen to ours first, and then go listen to theirs. We have them with us here today, so going to get y'all to introduce yourself first, and then we're going to give y'all the really hard questions.
Sounds good. I'm Quinn.
I'm Alex.
And we're a couple of characters. That's how we start our show.
Love it. Glad that we can finally get together and actually record this. It's been what, Alex? Nearly a month that we've tried to get together and record it.
We started talking before that even, but we thought we were locked in, and then you had some things come up, and that's fine. So we had to reschedule again, but now we're here, so it's all gonna work out.
It's that thing called life, It always seems to throw a critical fail in there on you at least once or twice a week. But like I said, I'm really, really glad to have y'all, and I'm just going to point out here that y'all had Jim and Phil on your podcast, but, no Richard here. I'm a little offended, but, I know their voices are a lot better than mine, and considering the scheduling conflicts that, I kept having, I don't blame you. I wouldn't have me on your podcast either.
Yeah, I was going to say, we could have you on our podcast if we could ever find a time to record.
Yeah.
It's all good though. Like I said, life. But I'm gonna get into some questions here. Never really done a podcast like this where I had to send questions, but Alex did tell me that you might want to do this or else Quinn will yell at you, and I don't like being yelled at,
Yeah, I'm a fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy, but Quinn and I's podcast, she has an outline in it, and then like in it, I think she probably just puts Alex rambles like between the parts she's gonna say.
Honestly, I just put your name and then a blank space after it.
See? Alex rambles,
Or Alex talks about X.
I love it. See, I tried doing the outline, but Jesse interrupts me so much that, now I just go by like the seat of my pants, and then whenever I go back and do the little bit of editing, that's when I type out the outline.
Yeah.
But, it'd be interesting for me to do it this way. So we'll get into it. We'll hopefully have some fun.
Oh, yeah.
But, question number 1 of 20 1,365.
It's a long one, guys. Hold in for the long haul. This is your life now. Is listening to this podcast.
Oh yes,
12 hours.
Yeah.
That's what we do here. It's a marathon session. Figure get it all in, while we actually got each other on the line.
Yeah.
I do like to joke and have fun, so chances are I'm going to joke about a lot in here because I love to smile and have fun. But you can choose which one of you want to answer first, or both of you answer at the same time. What got y'all into playing TTRPGs?
So this is actually a joint story. Would you like to start, Alex, by saying how you got into them, and then I'll continue with how I got into them?
Sure.
Now by joint, do you mean like the kind of 420 joint, or like the
No.
Okay.
No, I mean it's a combined.
Yeah.
Like a joint bank account.
I got you. I'm just messing with you.
So I was added to a Facebook group by one of my friends that was just called Astra 5EDD campaign. And I was like, I didn't know what any of these words meant. I knew what campaign meant, but I was like, he didn't put DND. He just put 2 Ds. And then I didn't know what 5th edition was because this was back in 2014. So I just messaged my friend like, what's this Facebook group you added me to? And he goes, oh, we're going to play D&D. I was like, okay, I've never played. And he said, he sent me the Player's Handbook PDF and said, okay, start with this and we'll figure it out. So then I started reading it and, I messaged him, oh, okay, I think I want to be an elf. And then he goes, okay, what class? And then I looked at the next chapter, oh, classes. Okay, I guess I'm going to pick a class. And then I sent him, oh, I think I'll be a ranger. And then sends me back, okay, then pick a background. So it just kept going. And I was like, oh, man, how much is there to this game? And I played it once and I loved it. And then I called Quinn, was like, oh, that was so much fun. Quinn, you got to join us. It's awesome. So I called Quinn up and convinced her to try to make a character and join.
Yeah, exactly. So I was in my last year of undergrad and he was in his first year of a 5-year grad program in another state.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we were playing virtually, so I thought, I'll give this a shot. It could be a fun hobby for us to do long distance. And then once I made my first character, I was just as hooked as you were.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's funny that you mentioned like you wondered like what else, how much is there involved, and looking at all the source books that I personally have, it's like, oh geez, there's more in there than anybody could ever actually read.
Thank goodness I didn't know how much it was going to be beforehand, because
I would have started.
Like, nah, I'm good. But when I just took it one piece at a time, it wasn't so bad.
Right. So, you played on Facebook, like in a Facebook group? How did?
No, that was just like when he scheduled it. We did roll playing. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool though. I've joined a few of the groups, but it's like, you got the official content, and then you get to like the homebrew stuff, and it's like, there's no way anybody could even get through half of the stuff.
Yeah.
And I know me personally, if I had known how much it would actually cost me to play this game, I think I would have, went back to playing with G.I. Joe or something. Or well, I can't even say Legos because Legos are expensive too.
They are.
But I love them, When it comes to tabletop games, how many different ones have y'all played?
Not a ton. Like 5e holds a special place in my heart because it's the first one I played and is still one of my favorites. I've also started playing Pokeroll recently, which is a Pokemon TTRPG.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that since Pokemon is my favorite video game.
Right.
And I'm just living out my dream playing a Pokemon trainer because the character I'm playing, it's on another podcast, Dungeons and Dragon Types. If you like Pokemon, TTRPGs, which you probably do since you're here listening to this one. You should go check it out.
Shameless plug, by all
Oh,
means.
But I like the character I'm playing, Willow, is basically me.
Quinn, if she was in the world of Pokemon and could live out her dream.
Yeah.
See, I wish I could find, something like that and people willing to play other games, not that the group I play with doesn't mind, but it's like you can almost hear the underlying grumble, like we want to play D&D and just D&D, but I mean, it's good. What about you, Alex?
I've tried a couple different ones. So I've played a couple like one-page or one-shot RPG type things, like Honey Heist type of games. But I don't think I played Honey Heist. But then I've played Savage Worlds for like a couple games, like 2 sessions, and then we were done. And then so I learned all those rules kind of for nothing. It was a little frustrating. But then I played Mutants and Masterminds as well for like a 5-session thing that I think was actually on YouTube. It's probably actually the first content I ever made, but I didn't really think of it like that. I was just like, a friend was like, oh, we should play this game. And then I tried it, and that one was a little complicated to get into. So, but yeah, I think those are the ones I've mainly played, and then a lot of 5D. I've played a Pathfinder game too for like 3 sessions. My forays into other games are all very short-lived.
You also played Blades in the Dark.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That one for longer.
Yeah, that one actually lasted like almost a couple months, or maybe like 6 months. So that one was a little better, or at least like in terms of I played it longer. But I enjoyed Blades in the Dark. That one's more of like if D&D is like a movie, like a fantasy movie, like a Lord of the Rings. Blades in the Dark is like a TV show. It's like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where they skip you right to the action, and then you're like, oh, what's in my bag? And then usually it's kind of cool because you don't actually pick what's in your like pack. You just pick how many things you took, and then whatever you need, you can just say like, oh, I pull out my grappling hook. That was in my bag this whole time, obviously.
I have my crowbar, and I have this really big knife that I can stab someone. How fortunate!
I only brought 3 things. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, but that one was kind of fun. So yeah, but I always come back to 5e as well. It's a good system, and I like it.
I know the 2 that I've really gotten the group to enjoy is I actually found a Ghostbusters tabletop game and managed to convert it to where it was accessible, and they really, really enjoyed it. And the other one was called Adventure Skeletons, which is they have rules in there for combat, but it's mostly just like a straight up role-playing game. And and the really cool thing is you're just a freaking skeleton walking around trying to, complete the assignment or whatever. And they have a lot of fun with that one. But
we also have we got the book for Vampire the Masquerade, but I haven't tried to read it yet.
Yeah. One reason I bought it was because I was like, oh, Alex might like this, and also when I bought it, and this was back in like 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
You also got a PDF code with it, which all physical books should do, guys.
Yes. And make sure you make your PDF accessible.
Yeah, right. We haven't checked to see if it's accessible, really.
But I have actually looked at that one.
It's so big. I'm going to pull it off the shelf and tell you guys how many pages it is, because it is huge.
It's like that Skeleton Adventure one where it's more role-playing focused and less combat focused.
Right.
Playing as vampire.
And me, I'm a vampire and zombie kind of fan. Other than that weird vampire, I can't remember what his name is that glitters, because that's just
Twilight?
not.
His name is Edward.
Yeah.
That's not a vampire, but that's just a southern redneck in me.
400 pages.
Ooh, that's a chunker.
Yeah.
That is a chunker. But that sounds really fun. Like I said, I've actually looked at it, but it's one of those things that I look back at my folder where I keep all of my tabletop game rule books,
Yep,
and
got
I
that.
don't think I need to add, another one.
Right.
Not right now. I'm never going to get to
Maybe
play
I should
these as
try.
it is.
Maybe I should try some of these other ones I have that I already own first.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not gonna shame myself and say how much money I've actually spent on other games that will never get played.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
But
ask me to.
Yeah. Never.
I could not relay that information, But so y'all been playing for a pretty good while now. Do you have a favorite character in your career of playing?
Yeah, so I'll start with this one. So our show is called A Couple of Characters because we like to make characters every week or every 2 weeks because that's one of my favorite parts about playing D&D is having interesting character ideas and then trying them out. So
Mm-hmm.
my favorite that I've played is actually a witch class that I kind of made based on someone else's. Um, I found someone else had made a witch class. I looked at it and thought, oh, I like a lot of these ideas, but I'm gonna change it some. So I played that, but the character I initially was like, oh, she was raised by she's a gnome and she's raised by like these other not her parents because her mom disappeared like trying to save the world, and then now she's looking for her mom, and she like basically runs a shop and like then get or so I guess I'm saying this terribly, Richard, I'm so sorry.
Hey,
But
Alex, this is why I write an outline and sometimes write a small script for
I'm just
myself
so excited
to
because I
prepare.
love this game.
Oh no, I have Jesse, and I love
Yeah.
picking at Jesse, and he's a good guy about it, and so it's perfectly fine, perfectly fine.
This is just me throwing shade.
Anyway, so April was initially I intended her to be like a goth, angsty, like witch, and I started playing and immediately I flipped to a bubbly, cheerful personality. So she's still casting necromancy spells and raising the dead and, wearing a necklace of finger bones, but she's like, oh, hey, it's me, April. Have you met my mom? I'm looking for my mom. And I like just like flipped the switch, and it was just so fun to play.
It's because Alex is the least angsty person I've ever met.
Please tell me, like when you raise the dead, they come up with like a bow on their head, or
That would have been adorable.
Should have dressed them up.
I love doing. I love doing things with like flavor added in.
Yeah.
What about you, Quinn?
Like so hard. I love Willow, who I'm playing. I also love Kieran, who I'm playing in the home game that I'm playing. He's a Leonin barbarian, and he's this big kitty, and he smacks things, and that's also great because I love cats and smacking things in games.
And big, when she says big, we just got an item that turned him. He's now 21 feet tall. Is that what
He's
it is?
21 feet tall. Yeah. He is so big.
The biggest cat.
He weighs 9,000 pounds.
So if he purrs or growls, it's like
it's an earthquake.
It's all over. Well, I know personally my favorite character is the first one I ever created, and I love dragon stuff as well, and I love the Harry Potter universe. Mm-hmm. So his character name was Draco, which means dragon, but and his last name is Serpentes, which is, if I remember right, like Latin or Spanish for snake.
Okay.
So I put a lot of meaning into naming my characters, but he's been my favorite. He's been down to 0 hit points like 9 or 10 times. He's actually died once when he had a tower fall on him, and he's been oh yeah, it was in the Lost Mine of Fendivar, or however you say it. Mm-hmm. And he's actually been reincarnated, and the DM was kind enough to let me pick the race, and I had just discovered the turtle race.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Ninja Turtle fan, so the chance to play a Ninja Turtle, yes, please. You know, so I jumped all over that. And speaking of favorite characters, do you all have a favorite scene or moment in one of the games that you played?
Oh yeah. So my all-time favorite moment is a bit of a journey. So I'm gonna take you on this magical journey of absolute chaos. So in 2016, Alex was DMing a game, and I was playing a dwarf barbarian.
There we go.
And yeah,
He's not even the one that caused any problems, really.
he caused some problems by virtue of one choice he made, but it really was only a problem because of the choices that everyone else made.
Yeah.
So
My friend Toby was playing in the game, and he's the one that invited me to that initial Facebook group and got us into D&D. And he's playing a
Dragonborn monk
that's
with low intelligence. And my sister's playing a halfling rogue. And then there's two other party members, but they aren't as important, like, really, for the story.
Yeah.
So a quick bit of backstory about the Dragonborn monk. When we first encountered the rogue, she was looting some dead orcs, and since she appeared out of nowhere, the monk thought that the orcs must have given birth to her, and she was so small, she must be a baby. And then when she said she was a halfling, he said, "Ah, yes, you are half an orc." So he just kept calling her a half orc and then acting like her father. So he's like, "You are my child," basically. And then one day we're in this town, and the rogue had just gotten the magic item that's the bag of beans, which was Alex's favorite magic item.
Yes, give the players chaos.
Yeah. So she plants one in this town, and it becomes a statue of her that shouts about how she's an awful person, just like constantly. It doesn't stop.
Yep.
And no, there's a 10% chance that this occurs.
Yeah, because it's I think it's like 20 to 30 or something. 20 to 29, you get a statue of yourself that yells and tells people where to find you for the next day. And then it becomes inert, but there's still a statue there.
So then she goes outside of town, she plants another bean, and she's still in town at this point. And she gets the shouting statue again. Then she goes outside of town.
And then the ranger tried to take the beans.
No, this isn't yet.
Oh, okay.
She goes outside of town, plants a third bean, and another shouting statue appears. So she's like, well, this is just what these beans do, I guess.
They just make statues.
And then the ranger, was following her, and then starts trying to steal the beans, take away, and they're arguing, whatever. And the Dragonborn monk comes up, and he's like, stops the fight, and then takes the rogue back to the inn that we're staying in, puts her in her room, and tells her that she's in a timeout.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think she tries to get away, and he gets angry and no, you must stay in here. And he releases his lightning breath for the first time all campaign after 6 months of playing, causing a spark to hit a curtain. Yeah. And then he leaves the room, and the rogue sneaks out, but the curtain is now on fire. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I remind everyone that their room in the inn, because they were staying together, is right next to mine. And their room is now on fire and will likely spread to mine, which is important because I just put all my stuff in the room not that long before, including a cask of ale I just purchased. And it's while the statues are happening, I was I put everything in my room except my shield, my warhammer, my magical cloaks, money, and then I'm going to go to the bar and have a drink. So as the inn catches fire and starts burning to the ground, I'm like, yo, I put all my stuff in the room, so I lost everything, which I thought was hysterical. Yep. And we get everyone out of the inn, but there were just these two statues in town shouting about how awful the rogue was, and then we did just burn down the inn. And so I just calmly collected the party and was like, we'd better go. I don't think we're welcome here anymore. And I just started leaving town, knowing that we should never go back there. And I might have I think I gave money to the innkeeper too to help them rebuild. I was like, here, for your troubles.
The sorcerer tried to help put out the fire, and then you guys left.
Yeah. And then the best part is it took place on April 1st.
Yep.
Now, we didn't have plans to make it chaotic and silly, but it just happened and it was beautiful. And this is my favorite story.
I love how the games can turn out like that. You know, makes a memory that, you know, sticks with you for forever, really.
Yeah, it truly, I will remember that forever because it was so ridiculous and so funny, and just the odds were not like that great that she would keep getting the same thing. It's like what, 1 in
Right.
1,000?
Yep.
Like the odds statistically pretty low. Like if you were playing that same thing every day for almost
1,000 times.
1,000 times, like if you played it every day, that'd be like 2.5 years. That would only happen one time. That's a lot. It's hilarious.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
Just, you know, what about you, Alex? Same thing, or do you have a
That
different one?
was very good, but I'll give you a short one that I thought was funny. So I'm playing a sorcerer with also low intelligence. I think his intelligence was 6, and he basically can do big hurts or big heals because he's the divine soul.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got to level, what is it, 17 or whatever, or no, 15. Whenever you
I
get
think
level
it's 15. Yeah, because level 17 you get level 9.
Yeah, so we just turned level 15, and I took Earthquake. And every place we go, he's asking the group, "Can I just Earthquake it? Like, let's just bring it down." Like, because we were trying to clear out this tower in the woods and like claim it for ourselves because it had been abandoned and then like got haunted by all these creatures. So we're like, "Oh, we'll clear it out and then we'll live here." And my character's like, "Oh, can I just like knock it down?" And they're like, "No, no." So, but then we are off adventuring and we come to this sunken temple that someone wanted us to clear out. And it's like under the lake or whatever. And my character, and you can just see the top of it like sticking out of the lake. And we get to the middle of the lake and my character sees it and he's like, "Can I just earthquake it?" And then the group takes a second and they go, yeah, actually you can. So then I swim to the bottom of the lake because you had to see the like space you want to target, and I start
Right.
casting Earthquake, and then I go back to the top, and the DM's like, "Yeah, I guess it just this is gonna knock the whole building down. Like I can't stop you." So he made the like boss of the building fly out of the top and start fighting us, but he was like, "Yep, you just subverted that whole dungeon I had planned. Thank you."
You're
As
right.
a
I didn't want to play that.
as a player, I love doing that to the DM, but as a DM, I hate it when the players do that. Yeah, it's funny. And I'll share mine too. I have one as a DM, as one as a player, and it happened with Draco.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in the Lost Mine again, and I played a Chaos Sorcerer. Well, he rolled a 1 as he was like trying to sneak in the little river to get into the cave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, he rolled a 1 casting Ray of Frost. Well, the DM said, "Yeah, I'm going to let you hit, but it's going to freeze the river." So there Draco is, Dragonborn. You know, all you see above the water is his head. Where our big barbarian who goes around wearing nothing but a wolf's head as a loincloth steps
That is a
onto
power move.
steps onto the ice, fails a dexterity check, obviously,
Yeah.
and then proceeds to teabag poor Draco, who cannot move or do anything else. And
Oh man.
that memory has stuck with me since the first session I was ever in. It may have been the second one, but
Yeah.
you know, years ago. And the one as a DM, I'm not sure if y'all heard about the windmill incident from the Curse of Strahd campaign.
I don't think
It,
so.
it's legend in the Knights of the Braille. I'm one that will do devious traps, but yet I will throw in easy, options as well to keep the players off kilter.
Yeah.
Well, they go to this windmill that's dilapidated, getting ready to fall down. Two of their members go in, to try to save the kids. The other two on the outside decide that, hey, let's knock down the windmill. That'll help everybody out.
Yeah, for sure.
They cast acid splash on the strongest part of the windmill base. Then cast magic missile on the weakened spot. And other two, one was an NPC whose intelligence I think was a 3, that I had made to go with the party, said, you want me to help you push it? And the other sorcerer's like, yeah, let's push it together. They proceed to push it. The windmill falls down, killing the 2 child hostages inside, the 3 hags inside, as well as their 2 party members. And I mean, everybody was laughing except for Jesse, who was like in awe and I can't believe you did that. I didn't. You did.
Yeah.
And
you pushed the windmill out.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he was the one that wanted to push it. And he said, well, how else was we supposed to get in? I said, open the door. I mean, that's all they had to do was walk in and open the door. Yeah. And those have just, they stick with you, and I love making game memories like that.
Yeah. It's so great.
It is, and it's so fun to be able to talk about them, here and there with friends and do like the whole remind thing,
Yeah.
But let's try to get through the rest of these 25,000 questions,
Nah, it's not gonna happen.
How did you two find out about Knights of the Braille?
I definitely found out from Alex, but I have no idea how. Like, could have been he was looking for stuff on Twitter.
I think I first saw it on Twitter, and then I looked into it more. So I think I just scrolling through Twitter one day and saw an account called Knights of the Braille, and I was like, "What is this? That sounds interesting to a blind person, like myself." And so I looked into it a little more, and I think that's kind of a short and sweet story, but that's I think that's how it happened. So we were just looking on Twitter, and then, like you said, last year on the Everyone Games event, we had the chance to talk with Jim and Phil, who were both involved as well. So got a little more. I don't know what the word
background
is. Exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Notice everybody there that they had Jim and Phil on, and Richard was just like left in the dark, or most likely in the corner.
Yeah, no, we had you on the recording. We just muted your track, I believe, is what happened, right?
Yeah, like I tried to do that to Jesse, but he knows how to unmute, and it just doesn't work. But is there any other like game that y'all would like to try to play? Like, I know I've run a Star Wars 5e game, which is a lot of fun, but as we were talking about earlier, I have a ton of games in that game folder that I'd love to try to play or run. But what about the two of y'all?
You want to start?
Sure. So I want to try and do another superhero game. So I enjoyed Mutants and Masterminds. It got to be a superhero for a little bit, but like I said, that was only 4 or 5 sessions, and then it kind of petered out. So I think that would be a lot of fun. So I'd really like to do another superhero one. And then another game that we just talked with Jacob Wood from Survival of the Able, or he's the creator of Survivor of the Able. And that's another one I'm really interested, want to try to play that one. Those are my 2. Quinn, what do you got?
So we backed Coyote and Crow on Kickstarter. That is the game that is by an all-native group of creators, and it's set in a near future where the Americas were never colonized. And it's like fantasy and sci-fi. Like a meteor hit the Earth, and made some sort of magical thing happen. So then after a few hundred years, like people like and animals and plants started like having access to this magic and stuff. And it seems really cool, and I've been, looking forward to learning more about it. And I've actually just started reading the book, and I've read the first, I think, 4 chapters now because I'm going through. But it's a big book. This one is almost 500 pages.
Oh man.
Ooh.
But I will also say that this book, it is like, if you think about D&D, how they have like the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Player's Handbook are separate. Like this is like a combined thing, and it also like starts with like, here's how you role play.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah, and like, here's how to be a good player, be a good, like, basically like game master, whatever. Like, here's some tips, and then starting through and like, here's history of the world. So we've got like some lore there.
Right.
Then,
I love lore and history of stuff. But speaking about survival of the able, I always call it the wrong name. I have actually played that with Jacob running it not too long after he released the first edition, I think.
Yeah.
And it is so fun.
It really is.
I
also played it.
Yeah, I played it with Jacob earlier this year. We played the one shot that is in the book that he's publishing from the funds from his own Kickstarter.
Yes. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I played a mute, which brings a lot of respect for the other disabilities out there, because you're trying to focus in on that, like, well, how do I convey that? I know how I want to, but I can't say it.
Yeah.
And pretty much the only sign language I know is the middle finger or the California howdy, and that don't always work when trying to convey something. But
those are official sign language.
Well, you need to come down to Georgia because everybody knows it.
Oh, I mean, everyone knows that. I was just saying, I don't think
it's official.
It is down here. It's in the Redneck Book of Sign Language. In fact, there's only one page in that book, and that's the one. But when it comes to games, everybody differs about this. How do y'all feel about music? Do you prefer like music, ambience, or nothing at all?
So, low music is okay for me if there aren't words, because otherwise I'm gonna start focusing on like trying to figure out what the lyrics are.
Yeah.
But usually I don't want anything in the background. And this is especially true if I'm like listening to an actual play. I'd prefer there just to be the sounds of the playing. Like, I don't want like ambient sound or like music added in. Usually I'm just like, just give me, it's cool. I don't really like that other stuff. I'm not here for a radio drama.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan when the podcasts like add in sound effects. I'm like, that's too much work. You're doing too much work. But I do like an ambient music. I think we don't normally play with one, but I've listened to Critical Role, and I think that I like the way Matt Mercer does it. He's a very an excellent DM. So I know that it's hard to manage a game of people, let alone
and he's got like help with like a production team.
Yeah, but something I don't have.
Yeah, right. Well, work on that, Richard. Maybe.
Yeah, see, they want money, and Richard is like, no. They'll get what they get.
On these other books, so you don't have money left.
Exactly.
I can give you a book. How does that sound?
That and cruises. That's the bane.
I accept.
And this is a really easy question, but I've noticed this a lot more lately. Do y'all prefer to play like with your computer or like your smart device?
So I think Quinn's super, right?
I'm a mix.
Okay.
A mix.
Yeah, I like both. So
Quinn's one of those people I can see,
yes,
one of those sighties.
Yeah.
Yes, I am a sighted person. So I do a mix between like pen and paper and my computer or tablet. Like I recently made an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of my inventory because I kept forgetting what I'd written down in my notebook. But like for health and stuff, I like to have a little note card that I can quickly update.
I've noticed that with people who can see that they prefer to write it down. Like most of the old school players
Yeah.
seem to do that.
And it is fun to like roll actual dice. But we've also played like when we started playing virtually. So that was all on devices anyways, so
Right.
Yeah. I bring my laptop to the game, and that's where I put my character sheet. Just because with me, I'm a slow typer on my phone or like an iPad. It's slow to type, but if I pick up random crap all the time. That's my biggest issue because I've tried using like the Fight Club 5 app, which is pretty good once you get the character set up. It's kind of a pain to get the character set up. But then if you pick up, like, let's say, oh, I picked up this lizard heart from a wyvern or whatever, a wyvern heart. Okay, that's not going to be in the 5e Fight Club app, like inventory list. They don't have a wyvern heart in there. So you got to add your own and figure out the weight. So I'm like, nah, I'll just keep track of it on my computer. So I have a system that I've kind of made for myself that works well, and I call it my cheat sheet. So I have like the main character sheet with all the info, the inventory and stuff, and then at the bottom I put a little cheat sheet, which is like, oh, I got this much health out of this. I have this many spell slots out of this many. I have like how many abilities I have that I'm like, oh, this might trigger. So like or if you had like a relentless endurance or something, like, just mark that off as like, oh, I have one left.
Yeah, that's like the stuff that I have on my note cards too.
Yes, I basically have a note card, it's just digital. So
that's like me. I'll create like my character on D&D Beyond, but I'll usually make a word pad of it as well, like basically the highlights, and because I can update it a lot quicker than trying to go through and edit it. So I'm kind of old school in that way.
I'm using basically just a test editor called LaTeX, but it's like it's supposed to be made for like making math PDFs, but in like the format I'm using is before you actually compile it and make the pretty PDF.
He's using a glorified notepad text pad, just basic text editor.
I'm using a notepad, but it has extra features that I'm not using for at least for my D&D character. I do use it for other things, like because I am experienced with math. I know how to make math papers for people, but
right. So which do y'all prefer? Do you prefer like role playing or like going in and hitting things and fighting?
I'm interested to see what Quinn does because I'm not sure. But for me, I'm gonna answer quick before her. I'm a big roleplay person. I love the roleplay aspect. I enjoy combat as well, but I'm like, if we subvert combat by doing some good role playing, I'm okay with that too. So I'm always about role playing. I like to get into character and do the weird quirks or whatever, and try to just have fun with it and see where it goes.
Yeah, so I like combat much more than Alex. I like it when it's interesting and has unique elements. Like maybe you've got an interesting like battlefield that has some sort of features that are making it difficult or challenging. And it doesn't drag on. Like if you're spending like 5 rounds in a row, like you can't hit anything, like you just keep missing stuff, that's really frustrating and annoying.
Yeah.
So I think I prefer role playing actually, but only when I don't necessarily have to be the one to initiate it, because I can find it hard to like come up with a role play beat and like actually start a thing. But when someone else starts it, then I can be like, okay, this is how my character would react in this situation. and do that. And my favorite moments in all the games that I've played are when they're funny or interesting, but mostly funny role-playing encounters with NPCs.
Yes.
Go
ahead.
I'm there to engage.
Exactly. He's there. He will always engage.
Yeah.
We should hide from this. No. Alex is gonna walk.
It's funny, we played a session like a month or 2 ago in our game that Quinn and I are in. Quinn was not able to come, and neither were. So we have 6 players normally.
I'm so mad I missed this session.
And then, so we're kind of down to 5 because one's in school and she's not really able to play right now. But it's just the 3 of us, and it was me and my
3 and the DM.
Oh yeah, my warlock, and then our cleric and our wizard, and both the cleric and wizard are wearing heavy armor, and they're clanging around, and we're like going towards this cave in the mountains, and they're like, "Do you want to try to sneak?" And I'm like, "I mean, we could try, but," and they're like, "No, we don't want to." So they're just clanging down the path, and we encountered like 3 different things in this session, and every time they're like, "Oh, let's just go say hi." And none of those times did we end up fighting. So I was like, my character's like, oh yeah, I guess if we just make this wizard go say hi to people, it'll work out. So it was really funny because there was like a encounter with some kobolds. There was I think like an ice hag, but we just talked to them and like we didn't get into any fights, and it was actually a lot of fun.
I can go either way. I think I prefer more or less the role playing. You know, I try to get out of battle because it usually drags on for a long time. Especially when people, oh, well, let me add up this and this modifier, and oh, when I get this bonus, you know.
You know, what really helps make it faster is just forget all the cool features you have. Like me, I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have gone down back there. I had like a relentless endurance. I totally forgot I had that.
Yeah.
Or, did you remember I had this thing? Because I sure didn't.
It's like,
put it on my note card. Didn't exist.
You know, like a barbarian, I think it's at 5th level. You know, you get the extra attack where you're so used to just getting the one attack, you're like, oh, that's it.
What happened to me? I was like, hey guys, I had 2 attacks. Like,
I think our group is pretty good though about like if you miss something, just kind of be like, oh well, and I'll get it next time, and just keep going. I think it takes away from the narrative when you're like, oh, I want to go back and add this thing or whatever. Or if you're like, oh, I forgot 2 damage, or like I forgot my rage 2 damage, the DM will be like, all right, I'll add it, whatever. Like you know, we're pretty good about like just keep moving the combat, and if you forgot something, we'll either say, oh well, or we'll try to sneak it in if we can.
Yeah, like I'm notorious for doing that when I am a DM. I'm like, I forgot about legendary actions. Or I forgot about this breath weapon. Like I had this big, like it was the final fight for my campaign, like I was wrapping it up, and they were fighting some dragons. And I just was like, oh, I forgot to do all this stuff. This fight would have been harder, but you guys are killing it right now. And I'm like, oh crap. Whoops. Oh well, whatever.
Didn't do any legendary resistances or actions.
Nothing.
Like, oh well.
Yep.
Did
the breath weapon ones, yeah.
The one that I forget, I mean, I remember the legendary actions, but I always forget the breath weapon. I'll use it and then forget to roll to see if I get to use it again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, let me roll like 16 times to see which one, you know, if I ever get it back. But, you know, it's all about having fun. And in fact, like I tell everybody, that is my number 1 rule for the tables that I run is you got to have fun. You know, if you're not having fun, we need to figure out something.
Yeah, it's a pretty good rule to live by, I think, for gaming.
Right. At the end of the day, it's a game.
Yeah.
Right.
To have fun.
And yeah, I think a lot of people forget that it's a game. You know, you get what I call rules Nazis or rules lawyers, and and I'm not saying that I don't like them because they do help out, because there's no way you can remember each and every rule. I don't know how they do it, but they seem to. You know, but I'm all about the rule of cool, and if you can convince me why your character can do it, Go ahead. I don't care what the rule book says. But I want people to have fun.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by the Knights of the Braille and is made possible through the support of viewers such as you. Please remember to like, share and subscribe to get all of the latest information and episodes. Thank you.
Welcome everyone to this exclusive one-shot, The Dungeon Daddy's Disciple.
Kicking off the Dice Head Revolution, T and Cleves of the Seesaw Podcast.
Chad Michael Boughton of Hindsight is 20/200.
And your DM Richard from Knights of the Braille.
Over the course of the series, join Brago, MP, and Grog as they find themselves in an eerie seaside town with no way to get home.
Do they have the strength to overcome the trials that the Dungeon Daddy has in store? Let the dice decide.